Hello everyone and welcome to State of the Realm, your weekly Final Fantasy XIV podcast. This week we have some details coming out of Gamescom regarding patch 3.4, the expansion, and some of the other content that they've been working on. We're also going to be discussing the most recent patch 3.38, which basically said, well, Anima weapons, here's one for everyone. We'll also be letting you guys know about some other events that are going on in Final Fantasy XIV and a little reminder of the 14-hour broadcast this Friday night. But of course, I am one of your hosts, Michael, Mr. Happy Poperomo, and joining me, as per usual, Slyh, aka Slythefox, aka Slyh, aka Greyfox, aka you my boy Blue. No nicknames this week. How you doing?
Almost forgot to switch off my mute. I'm good.
You almost forgot to switch off your mute? You know, I've done that like 5 times in the past.
Yeah, exactly. I've done it once. This entire stream, I've done it once. But I'm doing good.
I've done that I did that yesterday during my stream with Square Enix like twice. Like I would
Hashtag professional, man.
It's
Bringing
okay.
that professionalism to Square Enix, ladies and
It's
gentlemen.
all right. Eric made the same problem. He literally was talking to me, and I was like, "You know your microphone's muted, right?" And he goes, "Ah, damn it! He was muted more than I was, to be fair."
But you do the same thing in the Square Enix stream.
The difference was it was the microphone on the headset that was muted, not in OBS. To be fair, to be perfectly
Days without incident carries over to Square Enix.
Well, then Eric is the one with the incidents that we need to be tracking in that case. But we have a bunch of news this week, and we know we have news for next week, and then we are expecting news for the following weeks, because then we have PAX West. So we got some stuff to talk about, Slyh.
Yeah,
Some of it's a little salty. Some of it's not as salty.
Is it sour or salty?
No, it's definitely salty if you're looking on like the online forums and stuff like that. It is, without a doubt, full of sodium.
Team salt.
What is it? Na2? What is it for sodium? I can't remember.
NaCl.
NaCl? There you go.
Sodium
Okay.
chloride.
There you go. Sodium chloride. Yeah, there's a lot of NaCl for this first topic that we're going to discuss. And that's patch 3.38. One of those little in-between patches, nothing special, you know.
Yeah.
So the first part is...
Yeah, we first things first, everybody gets weapons.
Everybody gets weapons. Whether you want a lore weapon, an animal weapon, everybody gets weapons.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important thing.
You can trade in the Miyachi Farthing and Penny for a Illuminati Deep Goblin.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, that's the item that otherwise drops in A7 Savage, which is used to upgrade the I-230 lore weapon to I-240. And they finally got rid of the restriction on Might and Gears from A8 normal as well. So now you just need to get 4 of them as opposed to 7, and there's no lockout. So 4 runs, you're Gucci. So those lore
Congratulations,
weapons,
you got a weapon. You already didn't have an Anima.
Golf clap.
Which we'll get to next. This nerf.
So they nerfed the Anima weapon for those who don't know. The 210 step specifically, the 230 step, the 240 step, and the previous steps remained in their current patch form. But the I-210 step saw what is probably the biggest relic/Anima nerf of all time. Granted, it's a step that needed it more than any other step. Maybe the only step that's ever needed it as much was the book step back in the day. But this. So let's recap what the quest was before. Let's throw some numbers out there, Slyh.
Do you want to start at the beginning or?
Yeah, no, let's start at what it was before the nerf. All right. Okay. So 680 tomestones per item, right? Let's just ignore the fact that there's 2 different types of tomestones, right?
Right.
You need 80 of these items, and that's not the only way to get them, but this is the way people like to calculate it. It was over 50,000 tomestones to do it strictly through tomestones before. It was also 5 days worth of Beast Tribe quests for Realm Reborn. It was 6 days worth for Heaven's Ward, minus the Moogles, which were fairly good for it. You needed these high-quality crafted items that only specialists could make, which they eventually took the specialist part out. And and you could also use allied seals or just think,
All that
there's a
jazz.
lot of different ways to go about it. Nothing too bad. So 20 of the unidentifiable for each, 4 crafted, total of 80 and 16. So the first thing we're going to tackle are these tombstone counts. This alone would have been enough, in my opinion.
Really? Just this?
Just this would have been enough to the quest to sort of bring it more in line. But this is just the beginning.
So yeah, we go from 680 elegant tombstones oppose or law. You still have it. To 300. More than half.
Yeah, they cut this part down by more than half already. Yeah. So the quest theoretically has had its difficulty cut in half right there.
Right.
That's just the start. And you can use more types of tombstones for the other items. You're not forced into just using law or poetics or whichever one. They opened up the options a little bit more. So if you want to just farm one type or 2 types, you can do that instead. So that was nice. This was a nice nerf.
Nice thing. Then you get to, when we first started this, people were doing 50 some odd runs or 100 some odd runs of Gordius and all that jazz. We needed 10 bolts, lenses, or whatever. Now you only need 3.
Now you only need 3. You only need 3. As opposed to 10. So you can get the precision, so you can get those items. Yeah, you only needed that many now to get an unidentifiable item. Not that, honestly, that nerf is damn near irrelevant, though, because
nobody's doing Gordius.
Nobody's doing Gordius. Like, the Q times for Gordius are never good. So this is nice, but it's nice if you're, like, farming it with 7 other people not like...
unless you're catching up to the array content. I mean, nobody's really doing Gordius.
Yeah, no one's doing Gordius at all. Like, you gotta go in with a few friends, get it done, whatever. If you're doing this with friends, it's nice to 3 runs, because if you could do a run in like 4 to 5 minutes, that's like an unidentifiable item every 15 minutes, approximately, which is still nuts comparatively, because it used to be like 40 to 50 minutes, or an hour per unidentifiable. Just considering 4.5 minutes on average, maybe 5 minutes a run, something along those lines.
Right.
Although this might encourage people to maybe try to use Gordius to finish it up. You might see an increase in Gordius activity. It might slightly, a slight increase.
Be realistic. No, you won't.
You might, for A1 and A4, yeah, you might still see a slight increase. A2 and A3 debatable, but it's there, And we're still not done with the nerfs, by the way.
We're still not done. Another way to get unidentifiables was beast tribes, which I kind of got to the party a little late on beast tribes, but all my beast tribes are done, with the exception of Moogles. They're done.
I thought you said the Moogles were dumb for a second.
No.
Thought it was funny.
Even though some people didn't.
Yeah.
Okay. But originally the 2.0s you were required 13,
which took 5 days on average tokens. Because you only got 12 a day.
Now
I'm sorry, 3 a day, not 12.
3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now it's down to 3.
So you get 1 a day.
From 13 to 3.
So you get 1 a day, essentially, from
Realm
Realm Reborn.
Of course, Acosta 2.0s required 18. They only require 6.
So those are 2 days, essentially.
Yes.
So you could essentially, if you have all the Realm Reborn Beast Tribes at a point where you can get that, you can get 4 items a day just from Realm Reborn Beast Tribes at this point. So you could have it done in 10 days.
I could probably get all of it now with the tokens I have. as much as the Beast Tribes I was doing, and now that I was like trying to complete them, I'd probably go ahead and get another Anima with all this shit.
I mean, yeah, if you were saving up items at this point as opposed to spending them, waiting for a nerf, then you're pretty well set if you've been doing Beast Tribes all this time. 1 item a day, that means 10 days you'll have all the unidentifiable items, and if you already have the Beast Tribes at a point where you're receiving the items, of course. Mm-hmm. And we're still not done with the nerfs.
Oh, no.
We're not done yet. The next big one is the crafted items.
Yeah, I can't really speak on this too much since,
they were given to you for free.
fuck up. But now you can actually buy them from your grand company.
And they don't need to be HQ anymore. In fact, they can't be HQ. Well, actually, no, you can still use HQ. But if you want to use HQ items, you need to hand in 4 HQ items. You can't mix and match.
Right.
So there's no fucking reason to do that. So don't.
And they only cost 5,000 seals.
Yeah, that's not bad. I mean, still considering, like, if you wanted to buy them all.
That's like an hour and a half worth, maybe less worth of work.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're considering the fact you need 16 items, at the most you can buy 10 of those items without, at the cap. But I mean, even just getting the remaining 6 wouldn't be that bad, because the prices on those at this point on the market board just pretty easy. You can even just ask a friend, hey man, can you give me some of your Grand Company seals or some shit? Oh, I need this shit for ventures. Fuck you, give it to me. And if you have HQ items lying around from before, don't forget you can right-click and revert the quality to NQ. Don't just toss them, or if you want to try selling them on the boards, go ahead, but consider that as well. So that's pretty important. 80k seals is still a lot, but it's way better than needing crafters to do it before, which was a pretty big complaint.
The way I see it, they just really shitted on the market here.
That's a big thing. A lot of crafters are complaining. That one of the
really shitted on the market. Like that was a lot of people. Like since a lot of people were trying to catch up, a lot of people were buying off the market board, or having a friend who was very generous to give it to him.
Yeah, you know that all too well.
Shut the fuck up. But yeah, that's a closed market. That market no longer even exists.
Yeah, there's. I mean, it might exist for people who like want to sell them from the allies.
It's not gonna happen. Now, I want to get your take on this. What do you think, like, about this type of thing where they make a nerf or make a major change to the point where something that was profitable is no longer profitable? How do you feel about that?
I mean, markets always come and go, especially ones that are involved with relic weapons. I mean, it happened before. I mean, I think even back to the original relic weapon needing the HQ weapon with the 2 materia infused. That is actually still to this day a fairly good market to sell some things on. This was some next level shit, though, what we needed for this. So I'm never surprised to see a market come and go based on how the item is. This is a pretty drastic destruction of a market, though, that existed. It was pretty drastic because I know people who were still making and selling those because they did sell reliably, at least on Greg.
Yeah, I hate to see changes like this. To catch people up, I understand, but don't take away anybody's profit because of it. Yeah, I know things are going to go out the way in the further future, but this soon, in my opinion, no, it wasn't necessary.
Well, I mean, the big difference here, because you could still sell the items. There's nothing wrong with that. The big difference
you ain't gonna make shit off of it.
Well, the thing is, you probably make more in terms of legit net. It won't sell for as high, but the NQ items are still up there for decent prices. It's just that you can't expect it to stay that way too long when it's so easy to obtain the item. Right. And for a market that was once for crafters, it's now a market for literally anyone who has Grand Company seals. So it's more profit because you don't have to actually craft it, but the amount of people that are going to flood that market if it's profitable is just going to tank the prices.
I just don't see it being profitable. I mean, it's
the way I look at it,
accessible to everybody. Not everybody's a crafter. Not everybody knows a crafter. So 9 out of 10, those people are going to go to the market board anyway. If this is shit you can get with your own fucking seals just about like an hour and a half's worth of time, and then try to sell it back to somebody who can do the same goddamn thing, it makes no sense.
The key is, though, that there are a lot of people that still buy things that aren't those with their seals, who are sitting on no seals, who wish they hadn't spent them right now. Those are the people. And on top of that, the fact that you can't...
those are the people who are going to actually buy it. Yeah.
And on top of that, there's people who either want them for a different reason, like perhaps the Moonstones for the 240 step or something else, the Ventures, whatever. And even then, you can't have 80k seals on your character. You can only have up to 50k. So there's at least a margin of 6 items that someone's going to need. And because of this nerf, a lot of people are buying right now. So at least for the next week or so, I expect that market to be. And the thing is, the market itself is profit because there's no money. Now there's no money spent to make the money. Like you just put you put Grand Company seals, but I think I've been calling them allied seals by accident. You put Grand Company seals in and you get gil out, essentially, with no sort of, there's no loss of net. So for now, it's stable and it's making money. It'll probably still be something people can look into if they're looking for some spare change later, once things have died down. But it's by no means a crafter's market anymore, which was what was important to the crafters before.
Right.
So that's the important thing to touch on right there. Is it's no longer an exclusive market like it used to be. So that means it's only a matter of time before it just tanks on itself.
All in all, very polarizing.
Oh, and we didn't even touch on the biggest fact. We didn't even touch on the fact you only need half as many unidentifiables.
Yeah.
So not only did they cut the price in half, they cut the beast tribes down by like a fourth or a third. They cut down everything. You don't need HQ. They cut down the amount of unidentifiables you need from 80 to 40, which I actually
down time.
I expected that. That's been my prediction all along, was that they would cut that down from 20 to 10, and I thought that was sufficient enough. I didn't expect everything else on top of it. But they went ham. So if you were someone who wanted to do the 210 step, it can get done now. The biggest thing here is, though, that the 240 was made pretty much just, you have the lore, you get the weapon, because getting the Maki stuff super easy. Debatably, it takes longer to get the friggin' 4 A8 runs out of the way than it does to get the friggin' I-240 item. So it's all about the lore tomestones. That's still, and the Anima weapon is still as crazy as it is in terms of getting it done. The Umbrites still may have one way of obtaining them. You can still only get them for 300 SOs each, making that now the single biggest headache of the entire process. A chemical research facility drove me fucking sane getting these Umbrites. 2 runs per Umbrite.
I wasn't about that life until I got closer to the end. I really wasn't about that life. I said, fuck it. I don't want to do an ARF farm. I don't want to do just bang my head against ARF just to get fucking Umbrite. I didn't do that until the last bit. Otherwise, I did dailies, hunts.
For me though, the big thing is, if you're going to take that 240 step and drastically, at this point, everybody who is interested in that weapon has it in 3 weeks. If you look at having 0 lore tomestones and needing approximately 1,000, it's 3 weeks for anybody. The 240 step, on the other hand, of the Anima, which should be longer because it's customizable stats, so it's guaranteed to be, better. If we're looking at difficulty compared to something that is equal in item level, the difficulty there doesn't match. And I think that's the biggest remaining issue with the Anima weapon, is nerfing how to get a 240 weapon, but leaving the other one almost completely unscathed in terms of the process.
Do you think they're trying to prepare us for something content-wise? Trying to catch people up in terms of Anima weapons? Do you think they're trying to, the devs are trying to prepare us for anything?
I mean, the next step is the biggest one, because we know that this thing's not done yet. We know there's a continued storyline. The biggest thing, though, is that they want people to get caught up to the 240 step, but also then have to spend the time getting the 240 weapon while they wait for the next patch. That's really the biggest remaining goal that people could be going for between patches.
Now, go back to, 2 Relic. What was it? Zeta was the last one? Zeta was the last step?
Zodiac Zeta was the last step of the level 50 relic.
That wasn't nearly as bad as previous.
That was a really easy one compared to even the Zodiac itself was reasonable compared to some of the steps prior. It was a pretty long step in the dungeon. That was the dungeon Atmas for the Zodiac. The ones where, I did Sunken Temple fucking 20 times, essentially. But even that, I got done quicker than most of the other steps. I have a feeling we'll probably see stuff more akin to something between the nerfed I-210 and the unnerfed I-240 right now. That's where we'll probably see the next step, if I had to guess. But I'm just wondering what the mentality is behind making a 240 weapon accessible, but then having another 240 weapon that has way more hoops to get through that you don't touch at all until way later. I was wondering this back when the 210 became less relevant, and I'm still wondering it now with the 240. Because it's just, it doesn't matter if it's baseline for 3.4. You can get one, like, really easy through lore. This one's just customizable.
Now you know why I constantly say all the time I need a fucking weapon rack or something in my MC house, because this shit is sentimental. Like, I put all these hours, all this effort into these weapons just to see them go away in the next phase. And, like, I remember the grind. Everybody remembers the grind. So I want something like that, please. Because just talking about it just gives me a fucking headache.
Give us a Hall of Remembrance. Just put it upstairs, the Hall of Remembrance. They put fucking trophies of your old weapons and everything.
Have little mannequins that can wear your armor. Like, I want one to wear my
That's been a request for a really long time. The mannequins. Yeah. That's been something we've wanted for a really, really long time. And I still stand by that being and let's be honest, everybody fucking wants glamour in this game. Mannequin is pure glamour endgame right there. It's your house glamour endgame. And then people can dress up their mannequins to look at stuff. They'd be like, oh, I make this mannequin. I'm going to give it a fall outfit right now. And then then you're not even glamoring your character anymore. You glamour that mannequin. You go make a scarecrow out front. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Like a good-looking scarecrow, not the crappy scarecrow that we have. But that was really all 3.3 it was just Anima nerfs across the board, plus the lore weapon is a lot more obtainable now. Overall, fun little thing. If you were still in need of either of those things, or if you were some sick fuck who's working on more Anima weapons than one, then kudos to you. You now probably have like 7 I-210 weapons because of this. So, Godspeed. Godspeed to you, my friends. But that's it for patch 3.38. The more interesting details that came out of this week were Gamescom. We knew that Yoshi P was going to be doing a lot of interviews at Gamescom, and I think there's still more that are on the way, but what we have right now are the interviews from Nova Chrysalis, the interview from DualShockers, and then we have some information from the Famitsu article that was revealed earlier today that's officially launching in the physical magazine tomorrow. So, with that out of the way, we're going to cover some of the key points of this. I think the headlining one is 3.4's release date, which they didn't give us a date, but there's only 2 things it could possibly be. And in my eyes, there's only one date that's remaining. They said late September.
27?
27. Which was, to be fair, I guess the 20th. But
like I said, could you get a little bit of wiggle room to the 20th?
No, I mean, here's the thing. TGS is the 15th through the 22nd. It's always possible that the 15th or the 16th is something like between the 15th and the 17th is a live letter, and then the following Tuesday. I won't rule that out. It's still totally possible. Right. I personally think that won't be the case. I think they'll literally save it for the last Tuesday of September, especially because now they don't have to worry about Final Fantasy 15 anymore. All right, there we go. Still got to worry about Persona 5 though. But anyway, in Japan at the very least. In Japan. So that's what we're looking at, either the 20th or the 27th. The today is what, the 24th? So we're about 4 weeks out. We're about 4 weeks out from the next patch. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You ready?
Ready. Let's do it.
I'm ready. That's what I'm talking about. We also got some information about the remaining content cycles that are working for 3.4 and 3.5. One of the big ones is Palace of the Dead. We have, I'm going to say confirmed. Just know that when Yoshi P tells us dates, they're never confirmed. But I'm going to say it's confirmed. Palace of the Dead, the remaining 150 floors will be in 3.45. To give people a rough scope of when that is, about 9 weeks. About 9 weeks from today is when we can expect that. The first week-ish of November. So the remaining, all 200 floors available in 3.45, Sly. Are you ready? Or are you, now I asked you before, are you ready? But no, really, are you ready for soloing all of it?
No, not even. I mean, if they give us a mechanic where we start back from scratch, no. But if I'm a 60, then sure, why not? People are fucking Jenkins.
Yeah, I'm curious what design choices they're going to make for 51 to 200, because if
10 mimics every fucking floor. Let's go. Let's go.
See, I'm still under the impression that they're going to start us at level 1 again on floor 51. I'm really
that's what I'm thinking.
I'm really holding to it.
I'm scared of that.
I'm really holding to it being like, oh, this next set of floors is like the energy there is different, and so we've crafted deep ether pool weapons and armor. The old stuff doesn't work because of the signatures of something bullshit. Yeah. I don't know, but I fully expect to have to level 1 to 60 again for 51 to 100, and then 101 to 200 at max level. That I still expect you to be max level. What was really interesting was that Yoshi P said that all of the floors, this is what gives me hope they'll all be level 60. All of the floors from this point on will be more difficult.
Yeah, then that's why I think they're going to stick with level 60 instead of making us re-level.
I hope so.
I mean, unless they scale down the difficulty in terms of level, to where like level 1 is a little bit more,
just make the enemies hit harder, more dangerous traps.
Yeah, more dangerous, but still scaled down to like a level 1 through 10 or whatnot.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing with Palace of the Dead is I feel like there is merits to just making it more difficult with the leveling itself that's in there. Because technically, the content, you already have a kind of a projected idea of what levels people will be by certain floors. Mm-hmm. It's not a mystery, really. But the thing is, if you're at level 60, I feel like the restrictions that you can impose upon the player are a little bit more explorable. For example, if you're leveling, people are focused on killing all the enemies. You can't really add objectives that either avoid enemies or create super dangerous enemies that you want to avoid altogether, because everyone's trying to level by killing everything. At 60, though, at the consistent level, you have the option of adding a lot more unique conditions that the players have to fulfill, and that's kind of what I'm hoping to see in the remaining floors. But this is all speculation at this point. He also said that if you clear all 200 floors, you are godlike.
So you're a warrior. Thanks.
Or a warrior. One of the two.
Or a scholar.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later. The translator specifically said that any player that can clear all 200 floors is godlike. What they didn't say group of players, so I'm assuming that kind of translates to solo. Like if you're solo and you clear all 200 floors, you're godlike. We'll see though.
Unless this is like 4-man raid-ish type floors, I guess.
I mean, I'm cool with that. I'm down. If people have been requesting heroic dungeons or like real difficulty 4-man stuff, extreme dungeons and shit. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the final 100 floors get mixed up in something like that. I think that could be a lot of fun.
Right.
They also said they are currently developing in current development of Deep Dungeon 2, the second location, which is one reason why they want to push Palace of the Dead out in 3.45, so they can take all the remaining resources and put them into the next Deep Dungeon. How do we feel about a second Deep Dungeon? Do we feel Palace of the Dead has earned the right for them to make a second Deep Dungeon?
I still think it's too early. I still think we're not past the litmus test. 51 through 200 will be that litmus test. I mean, if they're confident that Deep Dungeon was that much of a success, then sure, go ahead and develop it for the expansion, and like the bar will be set a little bit higher.
Definitely set higher. It's always set higher.
It's always set higher, but I just feel like it's too soon to be thinking about Deep Dungeon 2 or the second location. Again, we're not probably going to see this into the expansion. The first patch or whatnot in the expansion.
Well, that's another thing to really consider, because if Deep Dungeon's available at the beginning of the next expansion, which I personally do not think it will be, I've considered the options of having Deep Dungeon 2 available prior to the expansion. Mm-hmm. But if it's not, I don't expect it till 4.05, because I think of leveling in the expansion, and I think if Palace of the Dead is available and it takes you to 70, that it depends, because they seem to want to sort of fix up the issues with the main story leveling, where there's all these stupid side quests that are just like, oh god, they're just Moogle quests. That's all I need to really say. And Palace of the Dead could be a reasonable way, like, hey, while you're leveling and you're doing the main story, we have this new deep dungeon for you to also level in. There's a story in there as well that you can enjoy. And it could be great to complement leveling with an absence of shitty side quests. I think that's something to consider. But at the same time, I feel like it would just completely outright overpower anybody's interest in doing the main story in terms of leveling, unless it's really good experience. It's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell.
And I'm still like you. I'm unsure that Palace of the Dead has earned the right for them to think about a second deep dungeon.
Yeah.
The chat says it best. It's past initiation, where it did well enough upon its release to say, hey, it worked, but its sustainability is questionable.
That's what I've been questioning the entire time. I'd say that Palace of the Dead is good, not like great. Like, oh my god,
we need
awesome.
Another one of these. Yeah,
we need another one, but it's good content. The one thing I was always worried about was how long are we really going to do this? How long are we really going to stick to something like this? It's fun. It's fun. Is there a reason for me to keep banging my head against this? Maybe not. I'm kind of fucked up. I'm kind of fed up with it now, like as is, without fucking limits. God damn it, I'm still going in. So I guess I'm kind of second guessing my my apprehensions to the long termness.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say. The long-term sustainability.
Thank you.
There you go. Okay.
I can't do words good.
What would you think if the 10 floors, like each group of 10 floors, had a bit more story behind it than just a, wow, she's creepily watching me? Like, would that be an added incentive? Think of it like how you finish Alexander floors in normal mode and you get a cutscene, or you maybe start Alexander with a cutscene, and that plays into your motivation to go through it.
Show of hands in chat. How many people were there in Deep Dungeon for the lore? I'll wait.
I was there for the lore, but it didn't give me enough. I was there. I feel like a lot of people wanted to know more about Edda, but we only pretty much found out that she was there. And it became a lot more about figuring out what Palace of the Dead was, and not the story that was actually being told, which is, hey, this thing down here is, we don't fucking know it. We don't know. I feel like a lot of people want to know more, but it didn't legitimately engage us. We kind of had to go, oh, I recognize that NPC. Oh, what's Edda doing down here? But nothing felt conclusive or powerful about the story. It was just the way it fit into Eorzea, which Ethis luckily helped enlighten us with. He made Palace of the Dead more enjoyable for me just by kind of diving into what it actually was.
At first I was there strictly for content, like for difficult content. Still am. I feel like they kind of piecemealed the lore in. It was minute, and it's like, okay, Edda's here.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
It.
That's it. I wanted there to be more lore, so I feel like Deep Dungeon 2, it would be great if a better story was told. I understand lore and story are not exactly the same thing. What?
Baby just said it in chat. This story still better than Alexander.
No story still better than Alexander's story.
God damn.
I think if Deep Dungeon 2 actually tells a story and isn't just this, what is this dungeon that is under here, kind of deal, I think that would bring up its interest level. I don't know how much time or room they have to actually develop a story for this, if that would cost us things like the Scholasticate. I would give up the Scholasticate, though. I'm not terribly interested in the Scholasticate. I would love to know more about this and have content attached to story as opposed to just a quest with story.
I actually like the Scholasticate.
It's okay, but I would trade it for actual story in Deep Dungeon. That's just my personal opinion. I would trade it in for this.
Like, I would be okay with them lore-wise making, like, saying, hey, we have this here as an adventurer. It's a challenge. If you want to do it, that's fine. There's no real story or any reason behind it. But if you want to be the very best that no one ever was, go ahead. I would be okay with that. I'd be okay with that instead of them trying to shoehorn more into it.
Speaking of shoehorning, honestly, with the quality of Heavensward's Hildebrand quest, I would trade in Hildebrand at this point for actual story here. Because, don't get me wrong, the cutscenes have been great, especially this last patch for Hildebrand, but it feels like at this point, like I said, they're shoehorning in Hildebrand.
I'm not ready to give up Hildebrand.
Only because I feel the quality of the Hildebrand quest in Heavensward has drastically decreased.
It has, but I feel like certain sacrifices were made from Hildebrand assets to kind of focus more on main scenario, things like that. I still have hope and faith in Hildebrand that the next expansion will go back to 2.0 where it's more, it's a little bit firmer in its story. We go back to actually, fighting people. We go back to trials. We go back to maybe a little bit of Greg. I don't know. Like,
yeah,
they kind of beat.
I definitely agree. I definitely agree.
They kind of beat the dead horse, which is Greg. I would want something different though. But I still have a little bit of hope in terms of the future for Hildebrand. So I wouldn't trade Hildebrand.
Fucking fly! Come on, I'll get you. Sorry, I didn't want to hit my monitors too hard. I feel like we're gonna see one trial for Hildebrand, but here's the thing: I think it might be a solo trial, like the solo missions where you go and you do it once,
like what we did with
the Mandragoras.
No, regular.
Oh yeah, like regular, yeah.
Yes.
Against
that's not a trial. That's not a trial.
Like I have a feeling we're gonna fight the Black Waltzes 1, 2, and 3. That's where I personally stand when it comes to GG story.
And you're still saying it's going to be a solo instead of an actual.
I don't want it to be. I want it to be like a full blown instance against all three of the Black Waltzes. But I have a feeling that
I don't want it to be an instance. I want it to be a trial.
That's what I want.
That's what I want.
I think we will be fighting all three Black Waltzes as part of the Hildebrand story, though. I just don't know if it's going to be solo or if it's going to be a full-blown, ultra level trial. Because honestly, if the Final Fantasy IX boss music comes on play, dude, that's it. I'm playing Final Fantasy IX right now again, and that boss music is tight. Tight like a tiger. Yes, tight like a tiger.
But we kind of digressed. The sustainability of House of the Dead, I'm truly concerned. I would love to see it be long term. I would love to, actually do this on a weekly basis, but the future knows.
Only the future knows. Well, let's talk about some of the future then, because there's some things that we do know about it.
We know about a little about 4.0.
We know it's ahead of schedule currently. And they are currently working on voiceovers for the main scenario.
So where do you see an launch?
May.
A month earlier than Heavensward.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. So it's you have to remember that Realm Reborn launched in August of 2013, and Heavensward came out in June of 2015. So, and they said Heavensward was behind schedule. So keep that in mind.
Behind?
We can probably assume he was talking about late spring originally. So May was probably the date they were originally aiming for. So what I think will happen is, even though they're ahead of schedule, they're not going to do it something like push it to April, for example. They'll say, hey, if we can get it out a month earlier in 2017 than we did back in 2015, it'll be good for the game, but we can also now take a month to really tune things, because if they would have been done by April, but they take till May, I think that will be okay. But April would be the earliest, like late April, but I'm thinking May. Definitely May of 2017.
Now, there are two things. Part of me that knows the devs and knows that, if they need more time, they'll come out and tell us that, we've gotten a little bit behind, might be a little bit delayed. And then there's the 15 side of things that kind of got me a little bit sour. And
thank you, Persona 5.
but yeah, I would honestly, even if they're a little ahead of schedule, I would honestly want them to take that time. Don't. And this is gonna sound terrible. Coming from me, terrible. Like, if they could release it early, that's fine. But I just see things going wrong, and promises not being kept, and
Alexander Gordius.
Just take all the time you need. Don't worry about it, like, finishing early or trying to finish, earlier than normal. Just take all the time you need. Don't rush it, please.
I don't think they will. I think that I think 15 has shown they have, well, because you have to remember, a lot of people forget that there was the QA team that was created within Square Enix that's made up of, I think it's Tabata, Naoki Yoshida, and like 2 or 3 other people. You have to get past that quality team for the game to launch. And it's likely 15 didn't pass the quality test in that group, and they probably cited specific issues. I assume that Final Fantasy XIV is subject to said quality team as well. But that's up for debate. I think that quality team was specifically made so that they don't do that again. I think that May is a reasonable date, considering at this point we're looking at a January release for 3.5, probably a March release for 3.55, and then a May release for 4.0. It's a 4-month wait, as opposed to I believe it was a 5-month wait between 2.5 and 3.0, because like it was January, and then Gold Saucer was February, 2.55 was March, and then it was April, May, June. So I think that'll be where we kind of sit there. Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm going with May. I don't have an exact day, but I'm going with May of 2017 for the expansion.
I'm still saying June. Still saying that, like, even if they were finished ahead of time and they let us know, like, later, hey, we were finished in May, but we wanted to put some polish on it, make sure everything was okay before we released, then I'll be fine.
Okay. Well, we still have some other things to get through. The Xbox, the Microsoft issue of getting Final Fantasy on Xbox has surfaced again. Now, I don't know if you know...
I love the way you say that.
Because it's literally been a topic since before the game even relaunched, was releasing it on Microsoft consoles. Let me remind people the way that the current Xbox One cross-platform play works. They have allowed cross-platform play now. I believe Rocket League was the first game to utilize it on the Xbox One. And I'm not talking about the fact that every Xbox game is literally on PC now. Like, that's a totally different topic. But the current regulations say that if a game is going to have cross-platform play, aka allow it to also play with PC players, PlayStation 4 players, Nintendo, whatever, there also needs to be an option that players can choose that will allow them to only play with other people on Xbox. That is a mandatory requirement of their current regulations.
Problem is, and they cited this in the interview, being an MMO, that
doesn't work.
It doesn't work at all. So, if you were to do that, you would just need a standalone server, and that's not. That's more time, more money, more assets being lost from actual content creation to servers, more servers just for Xbox One. And my opinion over the years, and please forgive me for this. Well, I don't care.
No one forgives you, Sly. Come on.
No, they don't. They don't. Microsoft's player base and corporate.
Oh, just go ahead and say Call of Duty. Just go ahead and say
player base and corporate.
12-year-old shouting on their Xbox microphone.
Can be a little bit greedy. Oh, no. I just want to play with people on Xbox. I just want to be able to go on Xbox Live, add my friends, and we go in, do tight. Okay. No.
No. You guys heard it, Sly. Okay. No.
No. There's a reason you pick a server. There's a reason you pick a data center, not console. I mean, you have a reason you pick a console. That's your reason. But when it comes down to the game in its rarest form, there's a reason you pick a data center. There's a reason you pick a server. To exclude yourselves from that, to try to exclude the game base and yourselves from that, it's selfish.
It's also mandatory. The fact that it's mandatory to have that option is also pretty nuts. And Rocket League agreed to it. Rocket League has that option where you can choose to only queue in with other players on the Xbox. It's there. It's like somebody.
But
agreed
going
to
back
it.
to the original statement, it works for some games,
Just not for this one.
not for an MMO, not for any MMO.
Nope.
No.
Nope. And no.
So, according to the interview, Yoshida will be meeting next month at TGS with Microsoft for further negotiations that are not going to go well.
How about what negotiations are there? You walk in and say, you either say that this policy doesn't apply to our game, or our game does not happen on your console. Yes or no?
And stop meeting.
Stop calling me to meetings to not say yes to this.
Yeah. Like, if you're going to say, well, this is possible, and then get to the meeting and say, no, you have to bend. Fuck it. Don't meet with Microsoft. Say, fuck it. Just PS4 and PC is fine. PS4 and PC is fine. Don't meet with them if they're not going
to put it on the NX just to make a statement. Do it. I'm not kidding. Put that shit on the NX.
Oh, man. I'd actually agree to that, too. Anything.
I'll take it. Nintendo's a Japanese company. They could work it out.
Yeah.
Exactly. 14 for NX. Make it happen. That's what I'm saying right now. Just don't even worry about Xbox One. It's just, it could be Xbox, the Xbox One console that'll never have Final Fantasy 14 is what it can be.
What about Scorpio?
Let's not talk about that. Anyway, let's not talk about Scorpio. That is a topic for another time. The next thing they want to talk about is patch structure. Somebody asked the very, very hard question of, do you guys, like, the patches are always the same? Dungeon, raid, trial, main scenario, side quest, quality of life, glamour, whatever. There's always a formula behind every patch. And while it is a criticized aspect of 14, it's one of the only things that keeps 14 afloat. If we look at it honestly, is the fact that people can reliably know these things will continue and these things are always going to be consistent factors about this game.
Like death and taxes.
They said that structure, and this is something they've said a long time ago that people don't really remember, that kind of structure is necessary, mainly because it is not World of Warcraft. I remember when he was saying we need a 3.5 month patch cycle. If we do not have a 3.5 month patch cycle, we will fail the MMO market because we are not World of Warcraft. We cannot take for granted that there are so many people that we've gathered their attention over the last 10 years. We have to blitz the market with constant patch upgrades.
And then he went further on to say that if they stopped doing this, that they did something completely different, they received feedback from the community that said, you don't like it and you want to change it back. What we've been saying all along.
Yeah.
Like what I've been saying all along. We're finicky. We're finicky. We are... It's kind of... you get what you ask for.
Yeah.
AKA Gordy's 3, A3. You get what you ask for.
Yeah, I didn't listen. Nobody asked for that ass. That's what I'll tell you.
No. We asked for that.
I didn't ask for that ass, and
yeah,
I didn't feel like I had an ass after all the sitting I had to do to beat that fight.
Yeah, so we're finicky. In terms of the community, in terms of players, we're finicky. We don't like change.
But we want it at the same time.
We want it at the same time, but when we get it, we don't like it, and we bitch to devs about it. When we bring on new things, new things are something completely different. I'm all for the devs taking risks. I'm still okay with Words of Dominion. I don't do it. I'm okay with the fact that you took the risk. People actually do it. People do it. I don't. I choose not to. This is my thing. But I'm okay with you taking the risk. Changes are taking risk as well, but it's much more detrimental, in my opinion, because of the backlash you'll get from that. Either way, you will get backlash.
Man, you know what would help? You know what would really help? If we only had like someplace to test these things before they came out. If we only had that, man.
No, go ahead. Go. No, keep going. Keep going. Get after
I don't know if the technology is there, though, so maybe we shouldn't talk about it. Maybe we just shouldn't talk about it just yet. But they do say they want to keep doing things like Palace of the Dead to get things. The thing is, once a new type of content's been developed, they develop what they do in the behind the scenes is they develop a process, and that process is replicatable, and it speeds up the further development of something like another deep dungeon. They can develop that a lot faster. At this point, it's just like they know, oh, hey, these floors have this layouts with these objectives, and you'll be this level by that, and they already have the entire structure. That's why dungeons are all about how long it takes to build the aesthetics, how long it takes to build the dungeon itself, and it's the same thing with Palace of the Dead. So now that those things have had a baseline, they can be developed faster. So they can continue to add things like deep dungeons and still explore new types of content without completely destroying their workflow. And that's another important thing. They're not looking to just add one-off events like Diadem and Palace of the Dead. They want to make more things that people enjoy seeing every patch, for example.
And again, I'm all right with them taking risks. Like, so if they want to try new things, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We will let you know. We are pretty damn vocal.
A little bit.
Just a tad bit vocal. But just don't switch it up because we hate that too. We'll be vocal about everything. We will be vocal about everything. Every patch, everything you do, everything you put in the game, somebody is not gonna like it.
It'd be really cool. I remember a while back they wanted to make a PvP mode that was exactly like Evolve, the game Evolve. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be cool if you could queue into Palace of the Dead to like take control of a monster in Palace of the Dead? Like you don't have obviously you're not like complete free control of it. Like it has restrictions. No,
I would want free control.
It has to be it has to be beatable.
I want to be Nemesis.
It has to be beatable, Sly.
You get free control in Evolve, and it is beatable.
It needs to be reasonable. Evolve is a game that's bounced around building this thing up. I mean, you literally just take control of an enemy, and you can go into somebody's like Palace of the Dead run. Like it'll queue you into somebody's Palace of the Dead run. It's like they are one floor from you or something like that, and you become the objective of that floor essentially. In order to get to the next floor.
So what? You act like a mob and you wait. You lie and wait for the party to get there. Oh, I'm just going to sit here for about minutes.
Exactly.
No, give yourself a little bit more freedom than that.
No, you can walk around. You can roam around. You just can't fucking sprint through the entire thing like a fucking
No, not like that. No, but yeah, give yourself some freedom. Yeah.
That might be a cool idea.
Not be a mob, not a back and forth mob or a mob.
Oh yeah, and then be
like the Minotaurs.
You've got like 2 or 3 abilities. You've got like 2 or 3 abilities essentially, and you can use them, and they're like targetable AOE's and shit like that, so you can shoot them at people. I'd be down for that. That could make Palace of the Dead a little bit, and that also gives you.
It's not hard. You speaking to me a little bit right now. Maybe because I'm on Souls kick, but yeah, invaders.
That's essentially where I got the idea, but I didn't want to just be able to invade as a fucking ninja and just fucking stealth up and gank someone and just insta-destroy their Palace of the Dead run. Just fucking completely destroy. Hey, this is the duty finder. It's going really. What the fuck? Mr. Happy's an asshole. Oh man, that'd be funny.
Yeah,
I'd like that. Speaking of trying new things, the next exploratory mission, we kind of knew this, is currently scheduled 3.5. We already knew they said it wouldn't be ready for 3.4, but it's a whole new zone and completely incorporating the reworked mechanics of the Diadem. So that's another very important detail. One other thing that Yoshi P has mentioned, or that people have claimed he mentioned but wasn't translated in the interview, he says they're currently developing a whole new type of content in the expansion that he believes has never been seen in an MMO before. Now, that is just what people who have heard the interviews have said the translator didn't pick up on. So as someone who doesn't speak Japanese, I can't validate that statement. I can only tell you that it's word of mouth right now. That's the best I can do. Major grain of salt with that one. But I don't know what the hell that could be. And if it would be good. Just because it's never been seen before doesn't mean it has to be good. Sex? No. Probably won't be sex.
Never before done in an MMORPG way.
I'm sure there's one out there that's done that already.
Yeah, it is.
Somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Another important detail is that the next expansion, he wants it to be a great point for players to not only continue to play the game, but for brand new players to join in, unlike Heavensward, where people had the issue of going through and having to play through all the story, and it made it kind of difficult to access for brand new players.
So, jump potion?
That's exactly what I thought when I heard that. That was the number one thing I thought when I heard that. What if it's just because we know that the story's not going to be as big of a block here, but I mean, even still, a Realm Reborn story has to be considered. So I don't know exactly how accurate the statement is.
From a business standpoint, I think it's wrong.
Why?
And again, speaking from a business standpoint, because I want to see Square succeed. I really do. You're including sales of a Realm Reborn,
right,
on top of your sub, and then Heavensward, and then the expansion, whatever it'll be called.
To be fair, what usually happens with MMOs is when a second expansion comes out after the first one, the combined first expansion and base game usually meet the same price that the base game had. So like Heavensward plus a Realm Reborn would probably be brought down to $20 like a Realm Reborn is now. So they don't have to buy one and then the other and then the other. It's like they bought the first two and then the third one would be the $40, which is where it usually sits. Yeah. So, I mean, but I get what you're saying.
And Narnian brings up a good point. It may bring money at the beginning, but like long-term subs might be shot in the foot.
It's possible. It's possible. The thing is that statement is very vague, and there's no means of confirming any sort of subtleties that it has. At this point, it's just they've talked about jump potions before, and that statement lines up with... I think that's the overall goal, and the jump potion was a consideration within that goal, I think is what we should kind of pick up from that, not confirmed jump potion. What else do we have? Would not comment on the feast's success, but believes it could definitely use a higher player base.
Yeah. I would actually like to see the data. I know he said by commenting on the data it would spark like a flame war, and I get that, but I like from a examination perspective, just comparing everything, because that's what we do with the data, i.e. the census. It would give us a good gauge on whether, and he talked about this too, whether PvP is feasible or not. We already have this argument. We already have this this school of thought within the community that says, why even consider put assets towards PvP? You should put those towards PvE. And he even says to that comment, if we take the PvP assets out, it's not going to affect PvE. You're talking about two different dev teams. Well, they're all one dev team, but two different teams: PvP team, PvE team. Taking away PvP is not going to improve PvE.
Nope.
No. So, I agree. There could be more interest in PvP. I don't know which way to do it. I think the community team is doing the right thing with playing time.
You know what I think would help a lot? You know what I think would help a lot? If every time new PvP released, the last the thing that came before it, didn't immediately go dead. That is like the number one problem, is that when Shatter came out, nobody gave a fuck about the other ones. When the Feast came out, nobody gave a shit about Shatter. And even right now with, Shatter's what we have now. Seize. When Seize came out, nobody cared about Secure or Slaughter. And then when Shatter came out, nobody cared about Seize. And now it's kind of evened out where there's like an average amount across all the PvP, but that number is not nearly as high as it could be.
I think they could take a PvE approach to it, making like how normal PvE kind of makes old content, old dungeons.
They try to encourage people to play the old ones.
Yeah.
I guess they could probably do something like that. I just think
kind of like what Yokai Watch is doing, kind of like what I don't know. At the time when I was doing it in Nexus, I hate that fucking set and I didn't do it. Yeah, kind of like that. Like find a way, a PVE style way to make PvP relevant. Make the old content, make the old maps, make the old modes relevant. It can be done. I honestly think it can be done. Like, not talking about just a PvP roulette, like a PvP daily. Not talking about that, but something like some kind of end goal, kind of like what we have for Anima, kind of like what we have for Yokai Watch. Some kind of end goal that's going to draw interest in it. Give me a reason to actually go back and do Wolf's Den. Give me a reason to go back and do Fields of Glory, Cardinal Flats. Give me a reason to go back and do Cardinal Flats. Like, give me something. Give me something to make me say, I'm going to go back and do this just so I can get this. It might seem a little, I guess tunnel vision is a word, but, it's going to make me do it. Like, people say, I'm not going to go do Fates. I even said, I'm not going to do Fates. I'm not going to do Watch. I'm still doing Fates. I'm leveling, but I'm still doing Fates.
Right.
I have a reason to do this. So you just give people a reason to go back and do it.
And that's probably the number one argument. There's not a good enough reason to PvP generally, overall. And that also leads to sort of a stagnant. Yes, there's tomestones, but now there's so many other ways to get it that it doesn't stand out as a means of getting.
And I was about to ask you, do you think the rewards, the new rewards, past rewards, first season rewards, are a good enough reason for people to want?
I think that it's good enough for the people who want to competitively play Feast. It does not help Shatter. It doesn't help Secure. It doesn't help Slaughter. It doesn't help Seize. None of that work helps the battlegrounds at all. What they're hoping is that the ability to duel, the ability to make custom matches, the ability for, and he said this specifically, Twitch broadcasters to showcase PvP through things like custom matches and spectator modes and whatnot. He's hoping that increases, but the thing is, I'm not spectating Slaughter, I'm not spectating Seize, I'm not spectating Shadow, I'm spectating Feast. And we know there's another Feast map coming, but that's another thing. There's not enough maps, there's not enough variation in rules. It's very, very linear the way that they've developed the PvP at this point.
When they first brought up the idea of Deep Dungeon and brought up the idea of a leaderboard, that's going to create interest. That's going to create more interest. And like going to that end, I think adding a competitive front lines would drum up interest. I don't know how it could be done. I honestly don't know. On that large of a scale, I don't know. But whenever you put like a competitive mode, not just, I'm just here for my free SO, so I'm just going to do this and get my
right.
No. If you put a competitive mode within, Frontlines, within all the Frontlines maps, and include Frontlines, include the old Wolves Den, it'll bring people out. It did when I first did Feast. I'm guilty. I might not be as into it as I was before, but I was definitely in there at the beginning stages. So if you put in a competitive mode, just anything switch it up 4v4. Well, not even saying 4v4, 8v8. But it's too harsh for Matt to do 8v8. I hate doing that.
I don't like 8v8 either. I don't blame you.
Yeah. Like whenever it's just 8v8, it's too long-winded. Nothing happens, and I just want to get my SOs and go. But just put some competition on it.
Competition's always good. Even a leaderboard just for wins and losses for the week. Something that's not just on the fucking lodestone. I don't care. Put it in the game. I don't care to go check the lodestone. Just put something in the game, please.
Yeah.
Oh, man. What else do we have here? We have Final Alexander will be easier than Midas. Confirmed. They also he reconfirmed that in Famitsu where but he in the Famitsu interview, which we'll talk about in a little bit, he cited more of the reason Final Alexander will be easier and the things they'll be doing to counteract needing to make raids easier in the expansion. But I mean, we saw this coming a mile away, especially after we talked about the clear rates of Midas. I don't think there's much to say here other than we told you so.
Do you think it's the right decision?
I think, yeah, it is. Because at this point, the difficulty that will bring the most people into raiding is definitely a difficulty close to coil. Midas definitely still exceeds even the difficulty of second coil. So I think that bringing it closer, if this can bring it closer to second coil difficulty, this will probably be the most played raid tier. So, and I think that's what they want to hit.
Goes back to you get what you fucking asked for.
Yep.
You asked for changes from Gordius to Midas, and Midas is still too difficult. I don't get it. I really don't get it. You got what you asked for.
Not everyone asked for it.
There's
just
not an A3.
A lot of really loud people.
There's not an A3 present. There's not a wall. For some people, there is. Yeah, I'll give you that. But it's not as big of a wall as A3 was. So I think it's... I mean, it's fine. Honestly, this is coming from someone who still hasn't cleared Midas. Honestly, didn't ask for it.
Didn't ask for this.
I probably, even if I had cleared it, even if I was, world first, and wouldn't ask for it.
Wouldn't ask for it. Well, another thing with Alexander is one of the reasons why he feels like Alexander's narrative. Because personally, I feel like if you pay attention to Alexander's narrative, it's there and it's pretty elaborate, and it's very confusing at times. Outside of the fact that it didn't have an entire 8-minute trailer of the entire world being destroyed to really back it up. There's also the problem that Alexander right now, when you're in the raid, at this point, the only two things you see are robots and goblins. That's it. And that sort of aesthetic has not been very appealing to many people.
So what, you want orbs and dragons again?
No, but Alexander hasn't really stood out as anything, hey, I'm a giant robot. Like, that's kind of just what it's been. Whereas with Bahamut, it was, oh, here are the Allegans, and these are their creations. They experiment, they captured and experimented on creatures. And, like, there was a reason, like, when you fought Melusine, when you fought Avatar, when you fought Nail, there were the themes there.
You're fighting experiments. I get that. I'm there.
And you're fighting full-on extensions or children of Bahamut.
Right.
Whereas this, it's like goblins resurrected Alexander, and they just built a bunch of fucking robots inside of him to defend him. And it's like, okay, that's cool. They want to flesh out Alexander's theme more with the final tier, with Alexander being a time manipulating primal. Like, that's his big thing, is he can manipulate time. So you should expect to see a lot more mechanics that play on Alexander's power as opposed to just a bunch of goblins and robots. Though you should still expect goblins and robots. Yeah. Absolutely. So they're hoping to make the narrative more interesting for the final tier, or they expect it to be stronger than the previous two tiers. What else do we have here? Oh, then we have Yoshida's personal wish list of he wants a breakdancing emote, but he's afraid to ask the animation team because they'll hate him. But just take Dragon Kick and turn it into an emote, and you're done. Like, that is literally the breakdancing emote.
You kind of want to, like, a little spin and then into a b-boy stance on the ground.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think he wants like legit like breakdancing. Like, if you go to YouTube and you Google breakdancing World Championships 2016, he wants that.
Yeah.
He also doesn't want to share any information about the new jobs yet because he's afraid for his life, and he likes his life. As he stated, he's like,
they have to kill him and the camera.
Yeah, they have to kill him. They have to kill Yoshida and the cameraman. So,
yeah.
And Yoshida says he values his life, so he's not going to do that, basically. And then we have, so that was it from Nova Crystallis and Dual Shockers. There might be a few other little details mixed in with there. But then the Famitsu interview came out earlier today, and there's just a few key points we want to touch on, mostly job balancing. And the big one here is The reason why Yoshi P thinks Alexander clear rates are lower, the dominant reason he thinks Alexander clear rates are lower, it's not just the difficulty. It's that all of the jobs are much harder to play than they were at level 50. He thinks if it was level 50 rotations and you made Alexander, the clear rates would be drastically higher because players play their jobs better at level 50 than at 60 on average. And I'm sure they have the numbers to support that. There are a lot of groups that could clear Coil that couldn't touch Alexander.
So happy.
What's up?
Are we still getting new skills?
Probably, yeah. I'm still putting... What? I'm not going to say no.
Then what did you expect? You give us new skills and you expect us like, hey.
Get better.
Do as well as you did on Final Coil. On second Coil. First Coil. Do as well as you did. New skills in the game.
Yeah. Learn. Adapt.
Get
good.
Get good. Thank you. Took the words right out my mouth.
I knew those were the words that were coming out of your mouth, so I figured I'd beat you to the punch. But so specifically, he says what they want to do in the expansion is they want to really make the balancing of jobs a high priority. They want to, and I'm taking this from paraphrasing from the translation, they want to hugely change the difficulty of using each job when the next expansion releases, such as the ease and reduction of management of buffs, and they are going to make the characteristics of each job shine more, which makes it sound like they want each job to feel more unique, whereas they felt very homogenized up to this point. What do you kind of take that as? If you had to pick something that a job is known for, like Dragoon, what would you say is the theme of Dragoon, the characteristics of Dragoon that should be standing out more?
Keep heavy thrust up, keep buffs up, keep Blood of the Dragon up.
But no. That's not a character. Those aren't characteristics. That's how you play the job. What are the characteristics of the job that should stand out? The Dragoon. When you think Dragoon, what is the number one characteristic that comes to mind? And don't say dying.
No, that's what everybody else says. Fuck everybody else.
That's what the chat is spamming right now. Falling off ledge, dying.
Falling off ledges, elusive jumping. Yeah, that. If you want to go into simple base characteristics as in stats or anything like that, strength. You think of a powerhouse. You think of heavy hitting, formerly no magic defense, but it got buffs, so shut
Formerly no magic defense.
Shut the fuck up, everybody.
The artist formerly known as.
Let that joke die. Nobody will let that joke die. It still gets thrown in chat every day. Login. Like, but yeah, like, I see what you're saying in terms of, giving them different aspects, like, heavy hitter, really good accuracy, just can do anything he fucking wants to because he can do it.
Hey, we can't talk about the do anything thing. Red Mage isn't in the game yet.
I was talking about Warrior.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Or
Scholar. But yeah, so they want to make the characteristics of each job shine more and ease specifically the management of buffs. That is the number one thing.
So what, heavy?
So 40-second grease lightning. I don't know.
Yeah. 40-second heavy thrust. You don't even have to, like, it's still going to change the rotation. I don't get it. Everything's fine. Everything's fine now, I think.
I think.
Like, I don't honestly see how it'd be better. Like changing buffs, changing timing, it would just fuck everything up. Oh, great. Now
don't have to worry about timing because you'll have so much time on Blood of the Dragon that you won't even have to think about it anymore.
Yeah.
It'll be good to go.
Fuck up a combo 3 times and still get off your Scoville and a 4th finisher. Yeah. Like, no, don't do that to me. Please.
More monk buffs is all I heard from this interview, essentially.
More monk buffs. And maybe a really good-ass bar buff again.
Well, that's actually another thing, talking about some of the other jobs. He specifically states Warrior as Scholar as being having an outrageous advantage compared to other jobs.
AKA God tier.
Yeah, AKA they're the 2 God tier jobs that they're near mandatory in terms of what people expect out of a raid composition. And so with that, they can't fix that prior to 4.0, but that is a key point, is making sure that there aren't jobs that are that completely dominant in the meta. So basically, warriors are good. That's what he said. He says warriors and scholars are good jobs.
No.
Yeah. So they're going to be balancing those two jobs. Those are going to be really high on their priority list, as well as a large number of substats, which we knew because parry is getting looked at, and we have the ability to assume that some of the other stats will be looked at pretty closely in the expansion as well. Even auto attacks, they mentioned, are currently they're looking to tune auto attacks. We know that with 3.4, they're making the whole face target thing, or the ability to get auto attacks off on targets. They're sort of fixing it because that kind of defined players who were spamming face target to cast spells or ensure auto attacks was a big thing. So they're going to be doing an overhaul of auto attacks in general in the game. Bards, Machinists, you got to worry about this. You guys don't have auto attacks. No one cares. Well, actually, Machinists, that's not true. Machinists is part of their Wildfire Burst. They turn off Gauss Barrel for a little bit. Yeah, they turn that off for a little bit. So auto attack, that could help. That could help.
But yeah, that pretty much was all that came out of Gamescom. Again, the rest of the Famitsu will come out tomorrow.
Well, from what I'm understanding, the digital version of Famitsu is already out. The physical interview is not there, but these key points are still the dominant.
The main.
Yeah, even after tomorrow, like there may be something else surfaces, but I mean, there's other things in here, like they're going to be adding items like Ginkgo trees and autumn leaf trees and the story behind the Allegan Towers and PvP, how long it takes for them to balance one piece of content, which was 5 to 7 days. And also they're testing the way that they test content in general, how they don't only leave invincibility on to test the fight, they do test it without invincibility.
Mm-hmm.
So there are other details. My favorite one was Yoshi P says, I don't understand why so many people are obsessed with their own DPS versus the group's DPS. Like,
do you not know us? Do you not know us?
Basically, he was like, he wishes people would look at the effective value of things like Trick Attack more. Like, don't look at, hey, my DPS was higher because of Trick Attack. Look at, hey, the Raid's DPS was higher, and how can we use Trick Attack to increase the Raid's DPS? Versus, how does this affect
Stone
me?
Sky C for that reason.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's the thing. I can understand it in the case of like people who do like 500 DPS at like level 60. I can understand people having an obsession with those people, but he doesn't understand people just like only wanting to care about like, I don't give a fuck about you teammates. My numbers. Yeah. Black mage. I'm a black mage. You dodge AoEs. I stand in this shit. All right? You do the mechanic. I ain't going nowhere.
I'm anal about my numbers.
You go stand in the right spot. I'm a manipulate to you. Okay? That's on you. If you don't go to the right place, it's not my fault. It's your fault. These are my numbers.
There's that, and then just being anal about your.
And then there's monk. It's like, I'm a monk. I can't lose.
I'm a monk. I don't give a fuck. Just don't even tell me the number. Don't even give me the fucking number. I know I'm number one. Fuck you.
Man.
That's because I know monks. Little.
Yeah, well, you know something. You could say you know.
I know a guy.
Yeah, you know a guy.
I know a guy. I know the guy.
At least average, you know.
The guy.
Oh man. But that's the majority of the important information that came out of the last week, and it was a nice. Most of it was a nice little touch on some details that we didn't know we wanted, but we ended up learning more about. As a reminder, we do have the 14-hour broadcast this Friday evening. I believe it starts at 8 p.m. Pacific and ends 14 hours later. There will be a live letter. Marco is currently planning to translate it on his channel. If his internet's not up to par, then he'll translate it on my channel. And then on top of that, there's the rest of the broadcast. But the Rising event also begins.
Rising of Brent. A Brent. It is Saturday, August 27th. Starts at 4 a.m. Eastern. I always say Eastern because I'm Eastern first. 1 a.m. PDT. yeah, I'm looking forward to see how this one's different from last year's. You will end up getting a wind-up crow and a wind-up dress-up Yoshida.
Yeah.
And along with some other items,
One of them is a firework that literally summons the meteor symbol on the ground, and a meteor crashes into the ground there. I love that. That's amazing.
So we're basically gonna create the opening of 2.0 again.
Yeah, essentially. That's essentially what it is. It's the opening.
Let's do it. I'm gonna hit up Mary to do it. Okay, got it.
Yeah, it's essentially Meteor. That's what it is. And there's also the Heavensward Orchestrion roll, which I'm assuming is the theme to Heavensward. It's
Dragon
the actual
Song?
Yeah, either that or because there's Dragon Song and then there's another one that it could be. But I think it'll be I think it's possible it'll be Dragon Song. But because there's Dragon Song and then there's the actual Heavens One, the one that's actually in the line.
Yeah.
It's gonna be one of those two. I think Dragon Song will stay Dragon Song, and I think this will be the one that's in the Heavensward trailer itself. And then I look forward to that. And just like last year, everyone's gonna be looking around to see if there's any sort of teaser of the expansion or any content they're gonna be doing. Last year we had the teasers for Samurai, Red Mage, Blue Mage, Doom Train. And a few other things. So keep that in mind. Be on the lookout for that. I'm sure it'll be plenty to talk about. Next week, Ethis is going to be joining us, at least that's the current plan, to talk about the 14-hour broadcast and the Rising event. And then we'll see where it goes from there, guys. But I got raided in like less than 10 minutes, so we're wrapping up just at the right time. So, Sly, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you at, my good sir?
You can find me at twitch.tv/. You can find me at twitch.tv/Slyakagreyfox. On something on TV. You can find me on Instagram at Slyakagreyfox07. You can find me on Twitter at Slythefox. You can find me on Plot 14 Work Off of the Lavender Beds, where I am now tanking some random bumfuck reason.
That is really strange. That is really strange. Your screen's lighting up pretty fantastically right now. Your room just got a lot brighter. No, because of the TV, you fool. It's like, there you go. And you can find Dwayne and me, Mr. Happy1227, everywhere. Also, a few little fun tidbits. I am going to be at PAX West on September 2nd to September 5th, although I'm leaving on the 5th, so don't expect to see me that day. And also, if you're in the Anaheim area, GameStop Expo, they've invited me as a special guest. It's a one-day convention. I heard it was really good last year when it was in Vegas. It's in Anaheim, California this year. So check out the expo if you're interested in going. Type !expo in the chat. I'll be there, and you can come meet me, and there's going to be a bunch of stuff to do. So do it!
Or go see an Angels game.
Mountain Dew it. That's what you need to do. You just need to Mountain Dew it real quick. All right. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move over into an incredibly short post show so I can go log into Final Fantasy XIV. And then Sly's going to go stream after that. So I'm going to wrap things up and let's go over to the post show. Thank you for watching this week. We'll see you next week when Ethis joins us to talk about the 14-hour broadcast stuff. I'll see you.
See you next week.